ওইটা না এটা কিছু
দুইটা একটা হচ্ছে গ্লোবালটার্ন আর আমার এটা হচ্ছে অ্যাডমিশন পোর্টাল না করবেন নতুন একটা প্রজেক্ট এটা ওকে are you also in
হ্যাঁ আদি
and you have to go to live I think you have to rotate
হ্যাঁ রোটেট করতে হবে
আর অন্য ফোনটা
আপাতত এরকম থাকুক
yes that's okay I think that's okay I just have to be there all right hello good morning everybody from Denmark and we are here from Globalturn and admission portals. So we thought it would be a good idea to share some information regarding about Denmark. And we have some great students, those who are currently studying in Denmark and also who has been living in Denmark for a little bit of long time, like 2 years and 1 year, and he just arrived, Mr. Toha. So we will talk about regarding the study possibilities in Denmark, some practical information regarding the job possibilities, also how to say, and other questions. Even also if you have some question about I don't know about admission living possibilities expenses. Or living expenses. So this is basically we never prepare for anything. It is just like a how to say
casual discussion.
Yeah, this casual discussion regarding Denmark. So maybe it will be helpful if you'd like to how to say decide if you'd like to come to study in Denmark. It's quite helpful for normally students from all over the world. We have from Bangladesh, India, also Nepal and Sri Lanka, Kenya, and also some other African countries and also some EU countries. I mean most of these countries student studying in Denmark I think. Yeah. So I will just pass it over to maybe you guys introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Sheikh Amritoha from Bangladesh, and I have been admitted into International Business Academy IBA in September 2019 semester, and I have been living here for 1 month. And
I'm Shabab Akhtar. I'm studying at Southern Denmark University. I'm doing a master's in computer science. I've just finished my first semester, and so I came here in February. It has been around roughly 10 months, and I'm doing my second semester now. So yeah, that's all about me.
And I'm Ibn Shimul Hassan. I'm studying at IBA International Business Academy, and I'm doing my marketing management, and I'm doing my like internship right now, and I have been living here for 2 years. So
I think you have to speak a little bit louder so maybe our audience can listen.
Okay.
Yep. So
Anyone wants to share experiences, or what should we?
yes, we can just move on.
Just who will start first?
Yeah.
Newcomers.
newcomers, okay, yeah. Okay, newcomers the first. Okay.
Like what are you feeling? Like you came right, it's only 1 month here, and you're probably facing a lot of things that you have never heard about. Like just share something.
No,
like,
actually I am not facing something what I not heard about it. I arrived here in like September 20, and then
Logistic.
I have to find a house here.
Computer.
Because of finding a house was a little tough here. As I got my visa at the end of my semester, while my classes was starting in September 19, and I got my visa in September 8, and that's why I have to rush to come here, and without having a accommodation here, and I think this is the first problem I face here. But if I got my visa a little earlier, then I think I could arrange something. But no problem, I come here and having nice days.
Okay.
That's all.
What about you, Shao?
Yeah, I mean, I did not have any problems like he just mentioned, because I think this is also an important point to touch on, that if you are planning to go somewhere to study, whether it is Denmark, whether it is anywhere else in the world, you should really decide and do things from at least a year in advance. Even if you are deciding on what to do, if you are talking to a consultant, or even if you are thinking of it on your own, you should start thinking about things from a year in advance and plan accordingly, so that you have enough time to make sure that you can do everything. Otherwise, because you will go to a new country, and for most of us who have never been to a new country before, it becomes very overwhelming, and it becomes very difficult when you suddenly land in a new place, and if you have never been there, and you're already late in your studies as well, so it becomes really problematic. So I would suggest that always try to do things in advance. So for example, before I came here, I was thinking about going to somewhere in Europe at least a year in advance, and then I decided Denmark around 7 or 8 months in advance, due to which I was able to not only get my visa, but I even received my accommodation and all of that a month or about two to 3 weeks before I arrived here, which is why my overall experience after coming here was very smooth, and I did not face much issues. Like, I came here just one day before my orientation day, and because I knew that I already have my accommodation and I also have the visa, and everything was planned out perfectly. So it's really important that plan it out, have time from before, so that, because you're going to a new place, so just take time to plan things out. So
Exactly.
Of course, very important.
Yeah, this is,
plan
when I
yourself.
came here, I also faced the same problem. Like, I did not find accommodation. As Shawakta told me, that if you want to go somewhere, you have to plan in 1 year advance, because if you are going to a new country, a new place, you don't know anyone there. Like, you will have no friends over there. So definitely you are gonna be in trouble. Like, if you have no plan in your mind. So that's the reason I faced a lot of problems. So I just say to all the people, like, who are willing to come here, just find an accommodation first, then you can survive there. Because if you have a place to stay, that he said that he just came here in one day before his orientation class. So it's very easier if you have a place to stay, and then you can find anything like job and everything is the other thing. Like, you have to find a place to stay first, because I came here in 2018, and because that what I faced in my first days and first week, I faced a lot of problems. Like, then if someone have experience like this, and then they're sharing their experience, like facing a lot of problem for accommodation, that means that matters. Then you have everyone who, like, people get visa for the next semester, or they're planning to come, they have to think about it.
They have to start
finding
thinking
about
out.
accommodation.
I mean,
Finding that
I think an important point to mention here is that what everyone should realize, that things take time,
Yeah.
right? And this is true not just for this accommodation, but then I can touch on the most talked about points when coming abroad is, how do you get a job? How long does it take to actually get a job?
Exactly.
Again, this is something that takes a lot of time, and this is something that a lot of people are not ready to accept. So the way I put this out is, I see whenever I go into any of these Facebook pages or groups of the different countries, people are always asking, is it easy to get a job, or is it hard to get a job? So the first thing that I would like to say is that this is a completely weird question when I see it, because you have to first think of what is the job that you are actually looking for. Are you trying to be the managing director of a bank, or are you trying to be a waiter at a restaurant? So when we are thinking of doing a part-time job when you're coming abroad, then you are obviously talking about working in a restaurant or working in a store. Now think about doing this kind of job anywhere in the world. If you decided tomorrow in Bangladesh that you want to be a waiter at a restaurant, will you find any difficulty in doing this? Will there be any problem in finding a job like that?
No.
I don't think so. And this is the same for wherever you go in the world. Even if it is Denmark, if you go to America, if you go to Australia, wherever you go, it is not difficult to find an odd job. No matter which country, no matter which state you go to, there will be restaurants, there will be people needed in the service industry.
Exactly.
So you will find a job. But then there is a question of how long it takes. And that also comes with how hard you are actually willing to work. Because there are a lot of students who are actually going around from store to store every single day trying to find a job. If you do that as well, you will get it within a week. If you don't do something like that, it can take even a month. But it's not a question of if the job is there, it's a question of if you really want it hard enough and if you are giving it enough time. So that's the main thing. I don't know if you guys have...
No. Job is not too hard to find out. There's the thing. If you go door to door, if you go restaurant to restaurant, you will get a job in a week.
Exactly.
There's lots of chance to have it. But if you want something good, like doing a part-time job in a
company
as clerk, or you want to have a job like data entry, or you want to have a job, lots of jobs. There are lots of jobs in job portals. The companies are asking the people who can help them in DEX. But if you wait for them, if you want to do such type of job, then you should have to wait for more than 3 months.
Yeah, maybe
even 3 months, and then even longer.
Yeah.
But if you want a restaurant job, kitchen help, if you want to be a waiter, then you could find it in 10 days or
just
7
right
days,
away.
no problem.
And that kind of job is enough to pay your expenses. That is the next point that
I think in Denmark, not only your expenses. If you want to have some saving, then it's also possible.
Yeah.
If you work 20 hours, if you work 8 hours a month, if you get you get the minimum wage, then it's enough for the saving.
Exactly, and getting a job right now, and it became so easy because when I came here, like that time, it was a little bit hard to get a job because as we are living here in Odinsa, and I'm talking about Odinsa because people who will come for a study at SDU or IBA or UCL, and they're definitely gonna live either in Kolding or Odinsa. Odinsa is a big city than Kolding, so definitely they're gonna choose Odinsa. But when I came here, it was a little bit hard because I was knocking each and every restaurant in Denmark or Odinsa to get a job because that time they just needed the people who can speak Danish, a little bit, but I did not even have that much Danish proficiency that time, so I couldn't find. But it was very tough at the time, but now it becomes so easy because
more people are coming.
More people are coming. People city is getting more busier day by day, so they need more people. So it cannot be a question that is it hard to get a job. It would be like Shabab told that how hard you can look for this job. So this is very easy question and this is very easy answer. If someone will think about it, I say that don't think about it that you will get a job or not. But first you have to be on process. That's simple. Now it becomes so easy to get a job. So it's not a good deal right now. So now we can talk about
so I think what he was talking about slightly was about how much money you make and the fact that you can also make savings, right? So this is another one of the common and very big misconceptions that I see that people have whenever I go into the groups. And even I think these misconceptions are being led by a lot of people who are living in Denmark right now. And you are often hearing things like it is so expensive in Denmark and things are very expensive and it's almost impossible and all these other kind of things. So now the point is, it's important to not look at the cost of something but rather try to understand the value of it. What does this mean? So if you now compare directly a price of a burger from Denmark to a price of a burger in Bangladesh, obviously the burger in Denmark costs 10 times more, right? But this will not mean that it is much more expensive, because if you look at the value, now let's think of how much a person earns in Bangladesh compared to how much a person earns in Denmark. So a person, even with the odd job, will earn 100 times more than someone who is earning in Bangladesh. So if that is said, and if you do very simple ratio, then the ability to buy this burger in Denmark for a person is much easier than a person trying to buy this in Bangladesh. So what I'm trying to say is, if you think of someone doing an odd job in Bangladesh, like a person working in a restaurant, even if they want to think about going to a place like Burger King and buying a burger, they will have to think at least 100 times, should I spend this money or not? But then, put that into context of Denmark. If there is a person working in a restaurant, they can go to Burger King 5 times a day and go there every day of the whole year and still have more than enough money left for them. So just the fact that it costs more by absolute number with respect to Bangladesh doesn't mean that it is more expensive, because you're also earning more. So you have to think of it in context of how much you are earning and how much of that you are spending. And if you look at these things a bit in Google, you will easily find that Denmark is one of the countries in the world with one of the highest disposable incomes in the world.
Exactly.
Which means that after the amount of money you make, you spend on your expenses like accommodation, like rent and your food and electricity bills and all of those, you still have a lot of the salary left. And just from the odd jobs and things like that I can tell you that you will be able to save at least 45 to 50% of your salary without any doubt. So if you have a very decent job, like you're working 20 hours a week, you will be able to easily save 40% of the money you make after spending it on things like accommodation and on food. So yeah.
But
No, in that case, I have a suggestion that if you are living in a city where is your institution,
Yes.
what to say, that the
Very important
educational institution is situated.
Yes.
As I am living in Odense, I have to travel to Koling 4 days in a week. In
That's
that
a problem.
situation,
Yes.
it might not possible that you save 40 to
Yes,
50%,
for sure.
because
For
you
sure.
have to take a travel pass.
Travel, yeah.
So
Okay,
right.
in that case you can save 25%. I would say.
yeah.
But still
Thank
you have a
Yes,
percentage,
I have
and a
a
good percentage that you
Yeah.
can save.
Yeah, of course.
It's much higher than the other European countries, as
Of
I
course.
Or even any
No,
country.
Any
I would
countries,
say.
yeah,
any
I would
country.
say.
And even I think, it's interesting that he touched on this point. So this is also a really good point that I would tell everybody, that whoever is coming here, so this is something, this is a part of how you can be more organized, right? So when you're going abroad, try to make sure that you're trying to follow a similar lifestyle to how they're living, right? So after I came here, or even before I came here, I spoke to a lot of Danish people and tried to see how they're doing things. And if you speak to anyone of that country, you will really get to know how you should be living there, because they are the ones who have been living here, right?
Yes.
And according to that, it is more general that you try to find a place which is right in the middle of the university or institution you're studying at and the city center, let's say. And that will give you an ideal lifestyle, because then you're right in the middle of everything and you can just use your cycle to go from place to place, and hence you have almost zero cost in transportation. And that is why it is much better if you are trying to find an accommodation which is right in the middle of your institution and maybe a city center of the city you're living in. But of course, this becomes extremely difficult if you're not planning things in advance, which is the first thing I said. And then if you suddenly come, then you will see that you're finding accommodation in one city, but your institution is in another city, and you don't have time to get accommodation in the other city, so you have to get it here. Or maybe you're getting the job in the city where your accommodation is, not in the city where your institution is. And then, because of this, you're not freely able to make that decision that, yeah, I should stay in the city with the institution. But
And this is very important. This is very important.
yeah,
Preparing.
Sorry to interrupt. Those who are asking questions probably will come back to you afterwards, because we are not answering the questions right
Yeah.
now. So we'll come back to that afterwards. So
Yeah.
please continue.
Keep questioning. No
Like,
problem. We'll
I
answer
want
that
to ask you
after
one question.
the
Like,
discussion.
do you think that the quality of education because I have been living here for 2 years, and I know, because I'm doing my bachelor degree and started from like very beginning of my
So
undergraduate
what is
education.
your degree name?
I'm doing my academic professional degree, which is called an AP degree in short, and then I will do my BA top up
Okay. Academic professional degree in what?
in marketing management.
Okay.
So I want to ask like one question, like, because you are living here for almost 1
If
year,
you just speak a
arrived.
little bit. So
Yeah, you just
more
arrived here. Like the quality of education. Why did you choose Denmark? Like, why did you choose Denmark to came here? Like, do you think that this country is better than the other European countries? Or what are the possibilities of after education? What are the opportunities?
I think you should answer it.
Okay. So, yeah, it's a very important question, something that everyone going abroad should consider. So first of all, I would say that from what I've seen before coming here and even what I'm experiencing after coming here, is the quality of education here is definitely really high, and it is probably you can compare it with the other big European countries, and it is at the same level. So when I say big European countries, the powerhouses, like I'm saying countries like the UK or countries like Germany or Switzerland, Norway, things like that. And it is definitely way above countries like Spain or Czech Republic, all of the Eastern European countries, or even if you go Southern Europe, it's much better than those. So you can easily compare the Danish degree to a degree that you are getting from the UK, let's say, which you can set as a bar. So the quality of education is really good, but the other most important thing, which is really, really good about Denmark in general, is the fact that they are giving this post-study work visa for 2 years after you get an education from Denmark, a higher education from Denmark, which up till now Denmark was probably the only country giving it, and I think UK is planning.
Recently,
Actually, it varies course to course.
Yeah.
When I am doing my MBA from Coventry University, I'm doing classes in IBA in coding. I have only 3 months.
Yeah.
Post.
I mean, yeah, I think it's so it's like if you're getting the
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think if you're getting in general, I guess I can say this for 60-70% of the cases. If you are getting a Danish degree, then for sure you will be able to stay here for 2 years and look for a job, which is a lot of time. And with that, I would also like to mention something that a lot of people say that you stay 2 years and then if you don't find a job, then you have to go back. That is so tough. Well, deal with it. This is the reality. If you don't find a job after getting a master's degree from a country, in 2 years you still don't find a job, that means you don't belong there. And that means it's time for you to go back to wherever you come from. And that is something that people need to accept. So I think that 2 years, I would say even 1 year is enough time for you to be able to find a job after you have achieved a master's degree of that country. So you have the same degree as any other applicant applying for a job. So you are on the same level, you know. And now it depends on if you have the skills or not. It does not matter on the country. So if you don't get the job in 2 years, you have to try somewhere else. But I guess if you can gather the right skills, it should not be a big problem to get a job.
This is an opportunity for the students who are like applying for like master's degree.
Yeah.
And in Danish.
Okay, while talking about the education system, the quality of education system in Denmark, I would like to add, as I just come here, I know I searched it. Denmark education system is the 5th largest and standard education system in the world. Okay, after Canada, America, and England, this is the 5th largest, 5th standard education system in the world right now for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, of course, it makes sense because, like I said, so I used to study in the UK before, so I have some idea of what the education system is back there. And as I said, you can easily compare the Danish education system and the degree value as well to that. And for most of even the universities, for example, if you're coming to any of the good universities, like if you're planning to study engineering, and there's this university called DTU, Denmark Technical University, and from what I know, this is one of the highest ranked engineering universities in all of Europe.
DTU.
Yeah, it's not just in Denmark, but this is well recognized anywhere in all of Europe, very highly.
That's right.
So most of the universities are like that. If you get accepted in any of them, the degree you will get will pay you back for sure. There is nothing to worry about.
But for the viewers' information, that in Denmark there's no private universities and colleges. Basically, all the universities and colleges are public. So there is no private universities or colleges, basically. But the degree varies. Like some degree is getting from Denmark, and some degrees from maybe the UK, and some of the degrees also getting provided by the USA. So, but all the institution in Denmark are public. So there is no private institution in Denmark. That's just to let you know, because many people do not know about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that Denmark is not a. If you think about Bangladesh, there is a university on almost every corner, in every city you go to, and it's really shocking. But in Denmark, you will not find a situation like this. If you count out you can literally count all the institutions that are here, all the higher education institutions. So because it's really not about quantity, it's about quality, and you don't need a university in every corner if you have, let's say, 40 or 50 of them who are really doing the job.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So
But
yeah.
also the information on the back door that it is the international students in Denmark is getting reduced from the different universities. because they want to keep the quality high, the Danish quality high. This is one of the reasons, and they want to make sure that okay, this should not be like it's a business like the UK. Some of the universities they do, or maybe USA or in Canada or even Australia, because they have a huge amount of money coming from money generated from the business from the universities. But this is here is basically it is not the business. I mean in Denmark.
Because it would be nice that if you see
If
the
we look
questions,
at some of the questions now,
because your students are asking some questions, and
I think a lot of them are here.
So you can see and you can ask the questions if they want to know anything about like Danish education or something like this.
Yeah, you can scroll to the first one.
What if anyone comes along with her spouse and baby? Is it possible to survive? Husband works full time.
Sir, you can answer the question.
Anybody wants to, or I mean, I can answer the question. So it's so I will also touch something else with this answer. So there are a few things people usually like to know, that once I make the money I earn, either I earn or my spouse earns, what are the things I can cover, right? So first of all, I will go level by level. First level is that you come on your own and you're earning money and you're working the part-time 20 hours a week only. If that is the case, you will be able to easily cover all your expenses, but you will really not be able to cover your full tuition fee expenses. I think it becomes almost impossible to do that. If you want to do that, however, there are some ways to do it, but you will have to work extremely hard. And the people who are actually doing this are not able to study properly. And this, in fact, hampers your education in the long run. So it is not suggested. So I can say that you can earn about 50% of the tuition fees easily and your expenses without any savings at all. Okay, so this is if you come alone. Now let's come to the question of if you are coming with your spouse. So when this happens, it means that, so then there are a few scenarios again in this. If you come with your spouse, does it mean that you will also work your part-time 20 hours and your spouse will work their 40 hours? If that is the case, you will easily be able to pay for your living and earn your tuition fees and maybe even have around 5-10% savings. But this is given that you are doing your 20 hours and your spouse is doing their whole 40 hours.
Full-time
job.
Full-time job.
For the whole period. Then you will easily be able to cover tuition fees and the living expense for both of you, and maybe even have around 5% of the money you make you can even save somehow. If you plan things right. And this includes if you have a little kid with you, they can also live within that, because if there is a kid with you, it doesn't mean that your living expense will increase by one more or something. It's not like that. So that's not a
kids are plus the benefit, I think we should have said.
Yeah.
Kids get some,
like for example, there are some benefits, like the children will get free education as well. And of course, everyone, you and your spouse and your child, everyone will also get free healthcare, medical and all of that kind of stuff. So those are
some kind of compensation as well.
Yeah.
In 3 months.
Okay, I'm not sure about that. But
you get some amount of specific money, but I don't think
it's not a lot.
Not very big, but
you will get something. It will cover like 75% of your child's cost expenses. But it is always suggested when you come with your spouse or child, bring some extra money with you.
Yes.
Because at the beginning it will take.
It's
hard to it's a double expenses basically.
Yes.
It is hard to find the accommodation, and the accommodation will be expensive, and also 3 people is double expensive.
Yes, for sure.
So you always bring some extra money at least for 3 months, and then here you will get the benefit out of it definitely.
So I think, just sorry to interrupt, but I think what he said here is really important, because this touches on the fact that how much money should you bring with you, right? And this changes based on if you're coming alone or if you're coming with your spouse. So of course, if you are coming by yourself, you're alone, and if you're a guy, then things are very easy and you don't really need to bring much money with you. You can easily find somebody to stay with. You can get an Airbnb or share with somebody and just live anywhere at all, and it's not a big deal. But of course, if you're coming with your spouse, the situation completely changes. You need to get a proper place. it needs to have certain things. You just can't move anywhere you like, and that obviously means cost. So obviously, if you're coming with your spouse, as Bikash basically mentioned, that you have to come with at least 3 months' money, and I think if you want to give them an amount,
of course,
is like,
I think I can discuss about
yeah,
it. I can obviously discuss about it.
yeah,
Like I just arrived here 1 month ago. That's why I know the scenario very well. And I would like to suggest, if you come alone, this is nothing like that you can share a room. No, you need a CPN number. You need to have your all the papers done. That's why you have to first rent a room. And in renting a room in Odense or in Copenhagen, I can give you some budget like that. In Copenhagen, if you want to rent a room, you will need 4,000 per month.
yeah.
In Odense, if you need to hire a room, you will need minimum 250 kron per month. 2,500 kron per month.
Danish kroner.
Danish
Minimum.
Minimum. That's not the maximum. Minimum. Without in an unfurnished room, you
Yes.
have to buy everything.
Yeah.
You have to buy your
If you're so
bed.
lucky.
Yeah, you have to buy your. I was lucky. I got my bed there. I got my wardrobe there. But you have to buy things. You can buy things from second-hand shops. No problem. That's at all.
It's always suggested that
I'm providing a budget. I'm providing a budget when you're planning to come to Denmark. Like I'm single. I have to. When you come here, want to rent a room, you have to pay 3 months deposit to your landlord. Like I paid 7,500 kron to my landlord. You have to pay 1 month advance rent. That means it's 10,000. Then you have to pay the rent in the next month. Between that time, you are not going to get a job. Between that 1 month. That means your initial rent cost is 12,500. If I can consider 2 months. If you consider 1 month's grocery for your fooding, then you have to pay 1,500 kron a month. That means for 2 months it's 3,000 kron. And you have to travel to your, you might have to stay in the city where your institute is. But if you have to travel to your institute,
Another 2,000.
to the other country, that it might average another 2,000 kron.
Exactly.
That means for 2 months it's 6,000 kron.
Yeah.
That means for first 2 months my expense is 12,000 kron for home rent,
For everything.
6,000 kron for my 3,000 kron for my fooding, and 4,000 kron for my
So
travel
around
expense.
20,000 you are looking at.
It's more than 20,000 kron. You have to bring with you
Yeah.
for initial survival.
It
For
is
initial survival.
suggested.
If you are coming alone, but if you are coming with your spouse, then you have to
Double it.
double it.
More or less.
40,000. More than 40, not double. I think more than double. More than double.
Probably.
Mr.
But I mean, the also another.
It's an average. More
Yeah.
than double. More than double. So there's a.
But one thing here is
here.
that you should also understand that while maybe most of you might be thinking that, oh my god, I have to spend so much money. But no, the interesting thing is that the biggest portion of this money is actually going as a deposit to your rent.
That's it.
So this money is not going away from you. So technically you can think of it like a saving, which you will get back once you leave the house, and if you leave everything in the same way you found it, then it's a complete deposit that you get back. So spending wise, you are looking to spend around half of that money. So 20,000 you will need to pay, but out of that 10,000 is probably something that you are actually paying out of your pocket and never getting back. But the other 10,000 is kind of like a deposit that you will probably get back once you are leaving your house or changing house or something. But still,
3 months
you need the money.
It fixed
Yeah.
in everywhere in Denmark.
Yes.
If you compare it with Copenhagen, a room is 4,000 and the deposit amount is 12,000.
Yeah. So
Okay, so when everyone is, I'm studying in IBA in Koling. In Koling, their minimum rent is 2,000 and you have to pay 6,000.
But
And after that, you have to pay 1 month
month's
prepaid rent.
Prepaid rent, yes.
That means 8,000 in Koling, 10,000 in
in
Odense.
Copenhagen, I know a lot of of people.
You have to speak a little louder.
In
so.
Copenhagen, I know a lot of people that living, they're from Bangladesh.
Okay.
Basically, if you want to live in cheap, then you also can find like sharing.
It's possible. Yes, it's
very
possible.
much high.
It's
It's
possible.
possible, but it's not always possible.
Not all. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's a backdoor entry. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's better if we don't.
Yeah.
So.
But then again, I have to tell to the people,
Yeah.
because most of the students who are coming for
Yeah.
bachelor, they're
Should we talk to the people? The backdoor system?
Backdoor system.
No, I guess
I don't
it's
think
fine.
so.
No,
It's,
yeah.
But still, you can find like you can share
It's
your
not,
accommodation.
yeah.
Share accommodation is not like
Yeah.
backdoor.
So
it's always good to they prepare well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and if they have the better than
Yeah.
what you say, then it's good.
I mean,
Okay.
the whole thing is what we are trying to tell you here is this is the ideal situation.
Exactly.
This is the ideal situation. Of course, there can be a million other ways to do the same thing.
Yeah.
There can be lots of legal ways, lots of illegal ways, lots of many different things.
Yeah.
But
But
we
we
are telling
always
you,
suggest the legal ways.
Yeah.
yeah,
legal
and
ways.
we are trying to tell you the
If
most
you are
ideal
coming
way.
here to complete your education, if you are coming here, if you have chance to complete education, you will serve in that country, then you have to always be legal. Without being legal, this is impossible.
Yeah.
That should be your final goal, I think,
Exactly.
from my point of view.
We can take some questions.
Yeah,
Oh.
if you have, of course. Can I manage my study and my living cost after 3 months in bachelor, and how much money need to
I
check
guess
from
we
home?
Kind of answered it.
Yeah, I think we have
Kind of
we
answered
have
it.
we have answer. But I just want to do something different here. That is, if you have time, like we talk about all the positive things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about all the negative things in Denmark.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like
Of course.
what is very bad in Denmark as a as a foreign student, for example.
Okay, I don't find anything very bad because I think the weather, the change of weather is something like if you come in the winter, it will be very cold, but not
Yeah.
in September. I landed here in September, that was not too cool, it was 10 degrees, and in my country, Bangladesh, 10 degrees is common things in the winter, so I don't feel like so cold. Okay, and
So that means they have to,
yeah.
when they come in Denmark, they have to always take the,
Of course,
the clothes.
if you
become
come,
ready.
if you want to come here, you must have to buy your
Yeah.
clothes, buy your clothes first,
Gloves,
clothes,
Yeah.
gloves, and everything.
shoe,
first.
everything, right?
I mean,
Because expensive.
I
thing is expensive.
I would advise, please don't purchase your winter boot and winter coat from Bangladesh. This is not going to do here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it
That's
is-
not a good quality.
When it is -10, you can't wear it at all. You have to buy your winter coat here. I don't buy it still now because it's not so winter. Still it is 10 degree.
Yeah.
So when I saw that it is going to minus, then I purchase my winter coat. But you have to prepare well. You have to prepare well. That's
Anything bad
I think,
in
yeah.
Denmark?
So I think what I will tell you might scare off a lot of you guys and say that you might decide that okay, maybe we shouldn't come to Denmark. But so on a very practical level, one of the biggest problems I think with Denmark is that part of where you are actually trying to get a proper job. We're not in the domain of an odd job anymore. Now I'm talking about if you actually want to go in and work at an office.
True.
If you studied marketing, you want to actually be a marketing manager at a firm in Copenhagen, for example. So getting this job is extremely difficult. Why is it extremely difficult? It's extremely difficult mainly because of the language.
Right.
And this is in the case that maybe when you're in the company, it's an international firm, they will speak in English when they're working, but still, just as part of their culture, they will expect that you speak in Danish. And more so because not because it's expected, but it's because if there are two people applying and both of you have the same skills, but one person also speaks Danish, so it is natural that they will be inclined to hire the person who speaks Danish. And because of this reason, it's a very big negative part for people like us who are not speaking in Danish, and hence it becomes very tough to get this proper job after you have graduated.
Exactly.
But this, however, is not completely true if you are from a technical track or an engineering track. So for example, the reason for that is because in Denmark there are not enough people graduating in the technical tracks. So maybe if I'm talking about a business track, out of the 100 people graduating, probably 90 are speaking in Danish and 10 are the people coming from other places of the world. But when you talk about the technical side, if there are 100 people graduating, it will be probably 40 are Danish and 60 are coming from the other parts of the world. And that's why in those fields, it is still a requirement. If you're unlucky and you go to an interview where the other two guys are speaking Danish and you are not, then you are not getting it here. But then there can be another company where it's different.
So suggestion is, once you come to Denmark, it's very important that you start to learn the Danish.
Yes.
Of course, you have to pay a little bit extra,
Yeah.
but it is always suggested that you speak Danish if you
Yes.
want to be here in the long run.
Yes.
So that is always suggested.
Yeah.
Anything bad in Denmark that you...
There, I have experienced, tax is very high in Denmark because, you have to pay almost 45 or 46% of your earning.
Okay,
tax,
okay. Tax.
This is the way.
I was thinking about,
but like language, this is the very simple thing because if you
okay. In that case, I have a question as well about language. That how long it take to be a 6.5 or 7 level or B2 level language?
He is learning language.
Okay.
He can
you please explain it?
So
I want to achieve B2 level Danish. How long it would take?
So if you want to learn B2 level Danish and you give your best, 1 year is more than enough.
1 year is more than enough.
But B2 level might not be enough for you to get a good job, is the point.
Why? I think B2 level is the standard.
Yeah,
Standard level.
depends on how good a job you're looking for.
Okay.
I think you have to speak a bit fluent.
Exactly.
Okay.
Almost like a fluent, and then you have to understand, you have to also able to write the email back and forth.
I mean,
So
I
don't think it's a big problem to get a job in business area.
Yes.
But
And in the B2 level, is it not?
I mean, don't think
Yeah,
about
B2
level English. I think I can
the
email.
point I'm
Yeah,
trying to
fine.
make is that don't take it in any different way, viewers and everyone here.
of course, no.
But these scales that IELTS have made of B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, whatever, 7, 7.5, and these exams, I'm not a strong believer of them because I have seen a lot of people who are somehow learning some hacks, side tricks, quick shortcut ways to get to a B2 level in that exam, and then they claim I'm B2.
Yeah.
But when I speak to them, they do not know how to communicate. People cannot understand how they're speaking. They're not fluent. But yes, they are a B2 level, and that is somehow allowing them to go from place to place. So it's not about this B2, B3 level or whatever. You really have to be able to communicate, and you will have to be able to comprehend. The other person needs to be able to understand what you're saying in a fluent way. If you can do these two, no one can stop you. So
Okay, that's good.
So my suggestion will be, while I was studying at SDU long back ago, maybe in 2011, what we did to learn the Danish language, we formed a Danish groups and talk together only in Danish, and then we study together in Danish. It's like social gathering. So find some, once you come here, find some Danish friends. So it will help you to learn the language as quick as possible. And also one more suggestion is Denmark is very trust-based society.
Oh my God, yes.
So if you break any rules and laws, it will be very hard. So I would suggest just to, once you come here, don't do anything illegal. Because and if once they knows you that you're doing illegal anything, your Danish friends or anybody, they will just leave you without telling you. It's very important that you're honest here, and so everybody will like you. You will have a job, you will have a good network, and you will have everything. So it's most important to being honest here.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel living here a long time.
I mean,
someone is asking, can I get a scholarship in bachelor level? Who will answer this question?
Yes.
I'm doing my academic professional course, and it's a bachelor program. Yes, you can arrange a scholarship if you have a good performance in your course, and also you have to be present like 85% or 95% of percentage in your class and activities and all that. Then you can manage a scholarship. Otherwise, they will not offer you like a scholarship when you are applying for visa or admission.
Well, we have some experiences from student. We had some student who got scholarship in bachelor level. Like Shojib, he got full scholarship in a top-up program?
Yeah, I got 3 times scholarship.
Okay, you also got?
Yeah, I got 3 times.
Okay, so he also got 3 times scholarship.
And
so
every time I got like 30,000 after 30,500.
Yeah.
And it's tax-free scholarship.
Tax-free. So there is possibilities, but you just have to come at the beginning. But before, they used to give the scholarship, you know, while you are in Bangladesh or maybe in other country, you are applying, you're getting the scholarship. But now for bachelor program, you have to come here, and then after 1 semester you can apply. They want to see your performances. So there is a different kinds of scholarship, you know, merit-based scholarship or diversity-based scholarship. Maybe you are from different country, maybe you are alone. So there are a lot of different kinds of scholarship. But once you come here, then basically we would suggest that you apply. But we had quite a lot of students who got the scholarship basically in bachelor level.
Read the name of the person pushing. And what is the scholarship or the MBA in SDU or IBA?
In SDU, there have some scholarship in specific study
Someone
program.
is asking like if I'm an engineering student, like what are the possibilities to get a scholarship and all that? Like,
It depends.
Yeah,
The specific study program. I think
Yeah,
Shabab is
I
also
can
had
answer.
the scholarship, so he can tell.
So regarding scholarship, I'm speaking with respect to the master's level. Okay, I'm not so much sure about bachelor's, but so with respect to master level and with respect to all public universities in Denmark, this is what I'm about to say. It's based on 1 master's student and 2 all public universities of Denmark, right? So for such a situation, getting a scholarship is purely based on number 1 merit and number 2 luck. So what do I mean by merit? So merit means obviously, so it's important to understand how they are offering the scholarship. So what they do is in Denmark, they don't have any specific set criteria that if you have these results, you automatically get a scholarship. It doesn't work like that. Rather, they have a set number that this year in this program, we are going to offer 5 scholarships, for example. And then out of all the applicants, the 5 best applicants get the scholarship. So this is where the luck aspect comes in. So if you are lucky, maybe you have a CGPA as low as 3.2, but in that year, everybody else who applied had a CGPA lower than that. You will automatically get the scholarship.
Or maybe they did not apply.
Or maybe nobody applied.
Nobody applied.
Only you applied for that program and you have 3.2, you can get the scholarship. So that's why that can happen. Or if you are unlucky, you have a CGPA of 3.9, but there are 5 other guys who applied with CGPA 3.95 and 4, then you don't get it. So that's where the luck part comes in. So that's one thing. So it depends on everyone applying and the best people get it. Now it comes to the question of what program you are studying. So this then means, are you coming here to study in the technical side or are you coming here to study in the business side? When it's about that, it is about funding. So in some fields there is more funding from the university and in some fields there is less funding. And in that case, engineering sides and the science and technology sides historically have always had more funding than the business side programs. So maybe in the business program there will be 2 scholarships awarded per university in every year, whereas in the engineering or science side there will be 5 to 10 awarded every year. So
well, there is also some humanities. Also, there also have some scholarship, but just let us know like what is your background. We'll have a look. We have some experiences about some scholarship awarded from different universities. But regarding your question about the MBA, MBA don't have the scholarship. MBA have only MBA have only scholarship. It is not scholarship, but if you pay upfront at a time, then you can get 10% of discount basically. So it's not a scholarship.
Something I could tell you also. This is something that I think people should know. So then they will get a better idea of why, because a lot of people might think, why is it that the engineering and science has the scholarship? Why does business doesn't? And people might think, why are you valuing it higher or something? No, it is not because the universities think science and engineering has more value and that's why the funding is there. That's not the point at all. The reason is because when you get a business degree, when you pay this money, it is like an investment because you can use this degree to go and get a job which is going to pay you a lot of money. But someone who's, for example, studying theoretical mathematics, which is part of science or engineering, this person with this degree cannot directly go and get a job at a company. They need to stay in research, right? And because of this research, which is really hard to get into, people don't want to go into it. People want to go into other track. That's why to attract these people, they are doing this scholarship-based thing. And this again is very true for the MBA, because the MBA is a very dedicated program that automatically puts you in a certain list when you're trying to get a job. And that's why they are looking at it as like, if you pay me, whatever you pay me for this MBA, if you use it right, you will get 10 times the value back in a year. So why should there be a scholarship on that? So you have to think about that, what you are getting back, and that's why they set up a system like that.
If you talk about globally, the person who get a scholarship, he don't depend on a country, he don't search for a country like Denmark.
Of course,
okay.
Yes.
If you are looking for your education in scholarship, you have to search all the universities of the world. Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia,
There are different kinds of scholarships.
Yes.
Different kind of scholarship. Go, apply to that scholarship and follow up.
Yes.
If they reply that back in the mail, you have to answer, you have to put some document to have that scholarship. Take 1 year time, no problem.
Yes.
You will get your scholarship if you have 3 GPA 3.5 or above in your bachelor level.
Yeah.
And if you have IELTS 7 score in IELTS,
Yeah.
I think you can apply for scholarship if you have patience for 1 year.
Exactly.
It's very true.
But it's also one more thing, the scholarship doesn't apply for the IELTS score. IELTS score is just a requirements for to get into the studies.
Get into the study, but you might need the CGPA.
Yes.
I mean,
CGPA.
what he said is very true. I am an example of exactly what he said. I have been trying to get a scholarship since the year so I graduated from I did my undergraduate from AIUB in computer science, my bachelor's, and since then I was trying to get a scholarship and leave the country. And I have applied to Australia, I have applied to America, I have applied to Canada, and I have given lots of different exams like GRE and stuff like that to get higher score. And I have pretty high scores in all of those, but I don't know, for luck or for whatever reason, it was not working out in other countries. In some countries I got up to 50%, some I got up to 75%. Still, I did not have the ability to pay the remaining amount. But then, that's why I say that there is a luck aspect of it, because it's from a group of how many people are applying and things like that. So luckily, then I got it from Denmark, and I got the full. That's why I'm here.
And
so it took 3 years.
Yes.
Backwards, yeah.
And if someone want a shortcut, then I would advise go to the German universities, the universities from German's portal. What is there?
Dad or
universities. And if you have masters only, if you have bachelor and masters, go to there, apply for the scholarship. Variety of universities. I think you could need more than 2 years to have a PhD scholarship, to have a PhD research program in Germany. And this is one thing I can specify from the whole other process. In Germany, you have some opportunity, you have some big opportunities to have your scholarship. But if you have some time and if you have your masters.
Good. Well, I think we have pretty much covered with a lot of points. But if you have any questions and if you want, we can just sit down in another day, because we have a very short schedule today. And I hope this information from Shabab and Toha and Adi, they are recently studying in different universities. So hopefully it will help you to decide if you should come to study in Denmark or not. So hopefully you will share if you like, it's no problem. So our information, and if you have any questions, of course, if you didn't able to answer back, so we will look at the question and we'll answer you back at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say have a good luck for your studies.
Yeah.
And have a nice day. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for joining.